Combating homelessness in the Miami Valley.
Several local organizations say the number of people experiencing homelessness is increasing. Gwyneth Falloon live tonight with why many are seeing a rise. But do you know about how many people are struggling tonight, Gwen?
Adam, those numbers, they do change daily, but I spoke with St. Vincent de Paul, and they're the organization that provides the only 24/7 emergency shelter in the area, and they're averaging about 500 guests a night, and about 100 of those are kids. They tell me these are the highest numbers that they've seen over the 4 decades that they've been open. Now, I also spoke with the South Dayton Emergency Response Team, and they too are seeing an increase, especially over the last 6 or 8 months or so. They've been helping about 60 people living outside in a tent or even in their car.
And Gwen, is there any idea why they think there's such an increase?
Well, that's a great question, and it's a number of things, inflation being one, but limited options is another.
Inflation, as well as our buying power and salaries remaining the same over that time. Dayton just also has a shortage of affordable housing, and making that hard to either stay in an apartment or buy a house or really stay where they're at the moment.
Now, these organizations say that they're always looking for donations. So if you would like to contribute, whether that's a time, a financial, or a supply donation, these organizations say they can't help others without your help. If you would like to get involved, though, there's information about that on our website, Dayton247now.com. Back to you.
Gwen, thank you. And now we want to give you a live look tonight from our Eco Plumber Skycam. And we're going to toss things over to meteorologist Brian Ivy.
All right, thanks so much for welcoming me into your homes here this evening. I'll be here tomorrow night as well. We got a couple little isolated showers near Sydney, far to the north. Nothing going on.
Inefficient, it infuriates us.
A Columbus City Attorney Zach Klein says there are likely thousands of criminal records that have fallen through the cracks.
Tonight we are looking into what caused that Hillsborough auto shop to explode. As we wait for the results of that investigation, our sister station in Cincinnati took some questions to the former state fire marshal. Luke Jones breaks down what he had to say.
Days after this massive explosion all but leveled Jimbo's auto repair, the scene remains sealed off and tightly guarded. Investigators from the state fire marshal's office on the hunt for evidence that could help them establish a cause.
There will be a thorough investigation.
It's a process Robert Relag's familiar with. He was the state fire marshal for 4 years.
Do they already know the cause?
No. I would say that they have a fairly decent idea of where a fire may have started.
Right now, the evidence-gathering phase. Relag says investigators will collect samples and take them back to the state forensics lab in Reynoldsburg.
You really have to start from no assumptions and start from really ground zero to put it together.
He says they've likely also started interviewing people. Of particular interest, those familiar with the layout of the 1,600 square foot garage.
Where things were stored, what was in there as far as contents, were there, for example, arc welders, where there's oxyacetylene torches.
It's a highly flammable tool, and if it played a role in Tuesday's explosion, Matt Alder with the Cincinnati Firefighters Union says he'd be looking to see what it came in contact with.
It literally could be anything. It could be the simple, spark of static in your clothing to, a lighter.
In Cincinnati, I'm Luke Jones.
Riverside police gave the all clear earlier today at Mad River Middle School after a reported bomb threat was called in. Officers got there around 2 o'clock this afternoon, and out of precaution, that school was evacuated. Students were then transferred to Stebbins High School. Dayton Airport Police, Wright Pat Air Force Police did a search of the building with canines. The building was cleared. Nothing was found. Faculty and students were allowed to return. The whole thing remains under investigation.
Clark County deputies arrested 3 people today after investigating stolen goods from Springfield Township. One suspect, I should say, was seen removing plates from a car that was reported stolen. After searching a home that suspect ran into, investigators then found a stolen ATV, utility trailer, and forklift. All items were returned to their rightful owners, and the 3 suspects were then taken to the Clark County Jail. A 45-year-old Billy Bradley is charged with 4 counts of felony receiving stolen property and 1 count of disrupting public services. He's also facing another possible count of receiving stolen goods for a fire department uniform found on the scene. 38-year-old Catherine Shockey has 2 separate warrants for felony drug possession, and Michael Logan, 44, was arrested for violating his probation.
The 88th Air Base Wing at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base conducting an evaluation exercise until Tuesday. Air Force officials said they're going to do a variety of communication modes to alert base personnel of the simulation. There's going to be alarms, blockades, electronic notification methods. Gate traffic may also be backed up, and there will be emergency response vehicles on base as part of the exercise. People in the nearby community may hear the exercise, but they are asked not to call 911 because this is just a simulation.
And now tonight, the very latest from the Middle East. 2 more hostages released by Hamas are now in Israel. Hamas already released 8 Israeli hostages earlier today, and more are expected to be released in the coming hours. This comes after that temporary ceasefire between Israel and Hamas was extended into its 7th day today, minutes before it was set to expire.
The White House also saying that the U.S. is working with Israel, Qatar, and Egypt to extend the temporary ceasefire between Israel and Hamas and secure the release of more hostages. National Security Council spokesman John Kirby addressed this earlier today.
I know one of the first questions I'm going to get is, what are the chances of an extension? And I just can't tell you that right now, except to tell you that we're working at it literally by the hour to see if we can get this 7th day turned into an 8th and 9th and 10th and beyond.
Kirby notes the first 6 days of the truce has seen more than 100 hostages released, as well as a significant surge in aid to Gaza. The initial truce began last Friday and has now been extended twice. Israeli officials say Gaza militants still hold around 30 women and children and around 125 men.
U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken urged Israeli leaders to reduce the potential for civilian deaths before resuming the campaign against Hamas. Blinken says there needs to be designated safe areas for civilians to avoid collateral damage.
It's imperative that Israel act in accordance with international humanitarian law and the laws of war. It must put in place humanitarian civilian protection plans that minimize further casualties of innocent Palestinians.
The U.S. is still working on the extension at this hour.
Well, going for the gold in the Summer Olympics, what a local man is doing to ensure his dreams come true.
And the House trying to expel Representative George Santos. The debate held today ahead of tomorrow's vote.
And we got ourselves a little bit of the light breeze out here coming in from the south. That's going to signify another push of some mild air for tomorrow. We'll push through the 40s into the middle 50s. We're going to be seeing some rounds of rain through much of the day. How much and what are those temperatures going to do after the front? That's ahead.
Here's a live look from our Eco Plumber Skycam. You are watching Dayton 24/7 now. A local boxer taking his dreams from a Centerville gym to the Olympic trials. Jenny Bork live in studio after speaking with him. Jenny, tell us what makes him so successful.
Well, one thing is he runs 8 miles a day, which I do not do. Andrew Zamet is confident but humble at the same time. When I spoke to him, I could tell those qualities make him hungry to achieve more.
I mean, it's a big step, but it's nowhere near like the total of what we want to do. I know Coach works the hardest, and he's the best coach around. And, you know, nobody outworks me, and I make sure of that.
Zamet has been boxing for 6 years. Next week, he'll be competing in Louisiana for a chance to represent the U.S. in Paris next year.
So he talks a lot about his coach. What role does he play in all this?
His coach plays a very big role in this. Daniel Meza Kudra is like family to him. They trust each other and are there for each other. Outside of all of the training, he even cooks for Zamet when they travel to compete to make sure he's eating right. The dedication of both of them is a big reason why they've gotten this far. Zamet's overall message is that people may doubt you if you try to do something great, but he wakes up and chases his dreams every day, and he believes anyone can do that. Back to you.
That is some great advice right there. We're going to have temperatures kind of up and down a little bit, for the most part a little bit above average, near normal. It's active over the next couple of days, and then again as we go into your Sunday, several rain chances. Just a few over the last couple of hours, but this is going to be a different story. This is a big batch of rain that's going to be pushing into our area. For tonight, dropping back to 43 degrees for those lows, cloudy skies. We'll get some showers in here, but it's not mainly going to be till late. A little breezy as well. That'll be something to keep an eye out for. Cloudy skies there on your Saturday after a rainy day tomorrow. We got to showers again on your Sunday. Temperatures in the 50s, falling back through the 40s into the 30s. That'll be the cold day on Wednesday. More details in a couple minutes.
Well, the debate over whether to expel George Santos from the House gets heated, with some Republicans arguing it's time to break precedent and oust him. Others arguing he hasn't been granted due process.
If we have an opportunity in this great institution to start a new precedent, one, that means we hold members of the House of Representatives to a higher standard. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I'm pretty confident that the American people would applaud that.
It's a higher standard, so we should just throw away everything that's happened from the first Congress to the 118th because the new precedent is more robust. The problem is it's a lower standard for due process without merit.
Now, it's unclear if 2/3 of the House wants him out, with some Republicans pointing to the still open criminal case. Santos speaks in his own defense, not negating any allegations, but asking why the rush.
Every member expelled in history of this institution has been convicted of crimes or Confederate turncoats guilty of treason. Neither of those apply to me, but here we are.
The vote on his expulsion will be held tomorrow. He faces 23 federal felony charges, all related to fraud and missing campaign funds. He denies committing crimes, but admits he did make mistakes.
And on top of his own troubles, George Santos is trying to expel one of his fellow New York colleagues in a signal that he won't leave the chamber quietly.
Representative Jamal Bowman knowingly and willingly gave a false fire alarm in the Cannon House office building.
Democratic Congressman Jamal Bowman pleaded guilty to one misdemeanor for falsely pulling a fire alarm ahead of a key vote over a month ago. He struck an agreement with the D.C. Attorney General to withdraw the charge if he apologizes and pays a fine, saying it was an accident. The House Ethics Committee said it wouldn't investigate. Now, in a statement, Bowman calls Santos's effort, quote, meaningless. Santos claims if he's getting expelled for alleged crimes, Bowman should too.
All right, here's another live look from our Eco Plumber Skycam over Beaver Creek tonight. Let's check back in with meteorologist Brian Ivy.
And whether you're in Trotwood, Beaver Creek, Dayton, you're not seeing too much in the way of rain showers now. That'll change as we got this big batch that'll push on in later overnight, mainly for the day tomorrow. It's associated with the wide-scale low. Eventually, we'll see a brief high try to move in, but it's for the most part going to be multiple different disturbances that swing on through over the next few days. Here's tomorrow, lots of rain. This is a very wet morning commute, moderate to even briefly heavy rain. That'll last through the middle of the day. We're going to still see some scattered showers, temperatures falling back into the 40s as we go throughout portions of your evening hours, then drying out a little bit for your Saturday. just an isolated chance. More rain pushes on in for Sunday. How much rain are we going to see? Generally a 1/4 inch on the small side to about half, 3/4 of an inch on the high side.
Well, winter is definitely here. Coming up, some reminders and tips from Dayton Police to remember about winter weather driving.
Also, the son of LeBron James given the all clear after suffering cardiac arrest. How his family is responding to that news tonight.
You're watching Dayton 24/7 now. As it keeps getting colder, Dayton Police want to give everyone a refresher on winter driving safety. The first focus, obviously, child safety. Dayton Police say they often pull people over and children aren't even wearing a seatbelt. State law says your child must be properly buckled in and be sure the straps are adjusted for thick winter clothing. Police say you should give yourself extra time before driving off.
Many times we'll stop people whose children are not buckled in, and the first thing they tell us is, well, the child undid the seatbelt and I couldn't do anything about it. If your child undoes the seatbelt in the back seat, you need to pull over immediately, buckle them back in.
Now, we added, as it keeps getting colder, they see an extreme increase in car thefts when the car is left running. In fact, a thief can easily and quickly steal your car within seconds, so make sure if you're starting your car to warm up to never leave it unattended.
Bronny James, the son of NBA legend LeBron James, has been fully cleared to play basketball after he suffered cardiac arrest 4 months ago. A family spokesperson says the 19-year-old will have a final evaluation with the University of Southern California staff this week. Bronny will resume practice next week and will then return to games soon after. He was hospitalized after he suffered cardiac arrest in July during a practice at USC. Bronny was later diagnosed with a congenital heart defect. Now, a family spokesperson went on to say, quote, the James family would like to express their gratitude to the incredible medical team, the entire USC community, and especially the countless friends, family, and fans for their love and support. Fight on, end quote.
Tonight, the CDC is reporting COVID on the rise. In fact, there's been a 10% increase in the last week nationwide. Roughly 18,000 people were admitted across the country. Deaths from COVID, though, are down significantly from the peak at about 1,000 each week. Health officials are urging Americans to get their booster shots, particularly seniors and the immunocompromised.
Well, on this month's Tales of Love, we show you the story of Killian the dog, how it truly was love at first sight for a Miami Valley family.
You're watching Dayton 24/7 now.
The Dayton 24/7 Now News app, brought to you by the Jeff Schmidt Auto Group.
Welcome to a relatively mild night. Temperatures generally speaking in the lower 50s across the area with the southwest breeze, keeping us on the mild side. Official start of meteorological winter tomorrow. We start in the middle 40s for those highs. We dip down into January in the middle 30s and then right back up as we go in towards the end of winter. Those low temperatures dip down into the 20s as you go throughout winter. Could be a little breezy tomorrow. I think these are maximum gusts of around 25-30 miles per hour for the most part. Sustained winds under 15 miles per hour. We're going to tap into eventually some cooler air Monday evening through your middle of the week, mainly Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, that cooler stretch. It's not going to be anything too shabby. Look at that. Nice middle 50s. We drop things off into the 40s. Okay, back below average. Couple of colder days. Lows back to around 30. No big snow events or anything like that coming at us at all. So from the 50s down through the 40s, this weekend will not be super cold. We do have the rain tomorrow that will be around for a good chunk of time, and then more showers on your Sunday. One last look at the extended coming up.
Brian, thanks. Well, local families spend months searching for the right furry friend to bring home, finally coming across a senior dog that fits their need.
In today's Tales of Love, Alex King explains how it was meant to be.
We saw his picture up there, so we had to go and see him. And we were just gonna look, but here he is.
Some would call that love at first sight. It hasn't always been easy for Killian. His previous owner surrendered him to the Humane Society.
They said he needed a house where people were home more than away, which was perfect for us because I'm primarily a stay-at-home mom.
When the 7-year-old Irish setter first arrived at the shelter, he had emergency stomach surgery.
Oh, I love you too.
Despite this challenge, after 3 months in his forever home, Killian is one happy boy.
He's been doing really well. He adapted really well. I think, of course he was nervous and there was an adjustment period, but no bad behaviors or tendencies that we've noticed. We did notice that he has